Welcome to Root Stem and welcome to this tutorial video to show you how to paint this Dark Angel Librarian. Hi guys, thank you very much for joining me. As you saw from the previous, we're going to be painting up this Librarian today, and it's painted up mechanical standard grey because, of course, majority of the model is cloak, and what I wanted to do is to make sure that the cloak is done in a traditional Deathwing style colour. So we're going to have to go for the more traditional bone. So to begin with, this is what I'm going to start doing, is just to show you the paints that I'm going to be using per section. So to begin with, we're going to be using some Karak Stone. We're going to airbrush that on all over the actual cloak. And I'm going to airbrush on Seraphin Sepia, again all over the cloak. Let that dry, both sides, and then back to Karak Stone. Add a bit of your shab tip, and add a bit of more your shab tip, and that should give us the cloak that we're actually after. And it should look pretty sweet when we're done. Apologies, I've just done the Karak Stone all over this. And I've not shown you. So there you go, Karak Stone all over. So now we're going to spray the cloak with some Seraphin Sepia. We're just basically going to be using this as a bit of a recess shade. Then we're going to put back in some Karak Stone, just of course reinforcing the highlights and leaving the recesses. Mixing up some Ushabti Bone and Karak Stone, we're now going to give the edges as best a highlight as we can. So, I'm coming back in before we do the final Ushabti Bone piece, depending of course upon which model, because I'm going to use the same video for both. And I've not totally emptied, I've dipped it out, but I've not totally emptied what I've done. So I've still got a little bit of a Karak Stone, and then we're just going to use pure Ushabti Bone. So once Ushabti Bone's on, we're going to dry brush Ushabti Bone on as well. This is because when you airbrush, it tends to be a little bit sort of thinner, and then you dry brush, you can kind of get a natural highlight. We're then going to combine both Ushabti Bone with White Scar. We're going to do a bit more like an edge sort of dry brush, and then we're going to just use pure White Scar to finish that off. Quest on the Librarian is to actually give it its blue armour. Now, it depends if you're wanting to do it like this. You can just paint it a traditional Dark Angel green. If you want to do that, just go and check out my painting the Dark Angels armour video. Well, not armour, but painting the bunch of Dark Angels. On there, one of the first things I really do is paint the actual Dark Angel armour. So if you go check that out, that'll show you how to paint the green. You might need to check that out anyway, because once I've done with these, the bits inside are going to be done up green, and then of course the rest will be added later. Now I'm going to be using an airbrush to apply the blue to the arms and the backpack, but I'm going to be using just a standard brush to apply the blue here. So you are going to need a couple of coats. I'm using Altdorf Guard blue because I'm wanting more of a different blue to Ultramarine or Crimson Fist. This is going to be more of a kind of like a different type of blue, something that would be possibly used by the forces of the Dark Angels. We're going to be possibly highlighting that and shading that with some Drakenhof Nightshade. I'll go through those particular steps, so I'll probably end up put some of that on, drown it in this, not drown it, but apply that, highlight up with that, and then maybe some crossfading, sort of like some wet paletting. If you don't know how to wet palette, it's not actually that difficult. I do have a video again on how to create your own cheap wet palette. You're just basically going to be mixing. It just keeps your paint flowing. So you're just mixing it, and then you can get some nice transitions. Just using very thin sort of paint rather than blobbing it on thick. But I am going to base coat them two with the blue, them three with the blue, using the airbrush. And then on here, we're going to be as delicate as we possibly can. And we're going to be very, very ginger. We're going to use small brushes and we're going to get that painted. I'll bring you back in on a video once I've got that layer done and that layer's dried. So I'm going to put that on, probably need 2 coats. We're going to put a layer of that on over all the armour, and then we're going to come back and layer it up with some more Altdorf Guard blue. Right then guys, so a bit of fast forward prepping. We've got some grace here. We've put that on the actual sword itself, making sure you're giving it 2 coats. And we've got that on the little eagle bit across the back of the helmet. I've also done his eyes as well. We've got some Ushabti bone that's been put onto all the bone like pieces. Of course, grace here on the wings. And we've got some Talan sand, which I've put on all of the actual banners. All that is prepping it ready for some of the next stages. Apologies. Next up, we're going to get some Caliban green. We're not actually doing any Caliban green on the actual model itself. It's mainly going to be on the shoulder pads. So pretty much the shoulder pad itself and the opposing shoulder pad, you're going to basically be trimming it in Caliban green. Now be careful with this one. Maybe I should have painted this one in before painting the other details in. If you are following and you're not actually following to exact measurements, then of course do that first before doing this. But I've got some small brushes that I can use. Try to make sure that you don't go over anything that you've already done. Now once you've done the shoulder pads green, we're going to start highlighting some of those purity seals. We've got some Talan sand mixed in with some Ushabti bone just to try and give it a little bit of an edge highlight. And then we're going to do the same on the red. There's some mixture of corn red, or corn red to start with, and then sort of wet blend it up to a, yeah, not Blood Angel red. Dear me. Evil Sun Scarlet, apologies. Top that off with some of those Evil Sun Scarlet, as I mentioned before, just to finish it off there. We're just going to put some Rhinox hide in. This is going to be the start of the leather details, mainly, of course, on this model, it's the belt. I'm going to coat quite a lot of the bone and the red and what I would normally consider the brown sections. We're going to give that a shade of Agrak's Earth Shade. And this should bring all the colours together. We'll probably have to go back through and reinforce them a little bit, but there's going to be no skin off the old big nose there. And now, of course, just reinforcing some of the shades for the purity seals, just using some Seraphin Sepia on those. This will give it a different look to the bone that we've already done, even though we're kind of using similar colours. Now all three, as you can see, all we're doing is going to be basically just stating to reinforce everything we've done previously. So a lot of the brown, and then once all that's been reinforced, I'm just going to dry brush some of the purity seals with some Tyrant Skull. Now we're going to go on to the sword. I've reinforced the Gracia, and I'm putting on, I think it's called Xarius. It's one of the purples. It should have popped up on the screen, of course. And that's just to try and start this weapon off to make it look a little different. Now Mechanica Standard Grey, I've just basically dry brushed into some of the black. It's quite easy to do. And we're going to start adding these silver pieces using Leadbelcher. It's a basic silver. Shouldn't really be difficult, but I do use a wet palette just to make sure that it's nice and runny, and sometimes use 2 coats if need be. Now I've got the Nazreg yellow. We're just going to reinforce, or do the crown as it were upon the top of the model. I'm using contrast paints because I'm trying to make it quick and easy, so we've got some little nice technical pieces and other pieces we can just do real quick. And the Nazreg yellow, especially on smaller sections, looks really well. If you put it over silver, it makes a very good alternative to sort of a gold. Now we've got some Nuln Oil, just of course doing your standard recess shading on the silver pieces of what I do normally as a preference. Cut the whole silver bit and then pick out the highlights when need be. And just telling people Runefang Steel, of course we've got another model coming up as well with some Interrogator Chaplains coming through. There's just Runefang Steel on all of the metal pieces. So currently we've got some Genestealer Purple, which I've dry brushed onto the sword now, and I've also dry brushed some White Scar on there. And what we're going to do is just to cover it just in some Druchii Violet mixed with Lamium Medium. So that's basically just going to create that little bit of a shade. While waiting for that to dry, let's get some eyes done. I've got some Blood Angel red contrast. I've got myself a small base brush, and we are going to put that on the eyes, which I'd already put some Gracia in before. If you catch it around the edge, that's not a problem. It just gives it that sort of look of a reflection. And on your purity seals, just get some Dark Oak Flesh and a little bit of contrast medium. Push them in there. And it's mainly 3 parts Dark Oak, 1 part contrast. 1 part contrast medium. You're going to have a small brush, and then we're just going to put some wiggly lines. Some straight line that makes it look like very faded purity seals. If you wanted to do it with some black instead, you can do. Just add a little bit more. Well, I suppose it depends on how recent you're wanting these to be. So I think it's about time to base and put some transfers on this bad boy. And thanks very much for watching. This is a bit different, of course, with it being a Dark Angel. I've not put any, and normally I would have put a transfer on, but I think with it just being kind of, it's hidden majority behind that purity seal. So I'm not going to bother, if I'm completely honest. And I quite like the rest of it. I did manage to snap it off the base just so I could do the base and then put the model back on. I've not done any real sort of, you can if you want to do some weathering at the bottom of a cape, but I didn't want to. I quite like the fact that it came out looking quite nice. But yeah, thanks very much for watching, guys. Please like, share, subscribe, hit that notification button if you do want to see more. Should have some Sisters of Battle videos coming out soon. I'm probably going to have a new, new army, new you, that type of thing. Keep an eye out for some of the other videos that I'm doing. I've got some stuff coming out on my hopeful website. I'm hoping it's live by the time I've done this. It should be, but of course I build websites for a living, so it's one of them things of bringing work home, which sometimes I don't like doing. There we are. Yeah, but thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.